My name is Sujin, and I had never heard of Gabdunri until the day I received a strange letter. It was handwritten, the ink smeared as if the writer had been in a hurry, or trembling. It read, "Come to Gabdunri before it disappears. You are the last witness we need." The letter was unsigned. At first, I thought it was a prank, but there was something unsettling about it. The handwriting seemed oddly familiar, like the scrawls of my late grandmother. I had been a journalist for years, chasing urban legends and ghost stories across Korea, but this one was different. Gabdunri was not on any modern map. After hours of searching, I found a faded government record from the 1970s mentioning it as a mountain village that had ceased to exist after a landslide. Strangely, no casualty records, no survivors, just a note that the town had vanished. That night, I dreamed of a dark tunnel lined with human hands pressed against the walls, reaching out, begging. When I woke, the word Gabdunri echoed in my mind like a curse. Against every instinct, I packed my camera and notebook and boarded a bus headed deep into the rural mountains of Gangwon province. The driver glanced at my ticket, then at me, with an expression that chilled me. "You shouldn't go there," he whispered. "People who go looking for Gabdunri never come back." But I had already made up my mind. Part 2. The Road to Gabdunri. The bus dropped me off at an abandoned road. Fog blanketed the forest, so thick I could barely see a few meters ahead. The trees leaned unnaturally, as if bent by unseen hands. I walked for hours until I noticed the air grow colder, though it was the height of summer. Then, at the edge of the mist, I saw it, an old wooden gate with a half-rotted sign. "Welcome to Gabdunri." The gate should not have been there. This town officially did not exist. Beyond the gate, houses stood abandoned but intact, their paper windows torn, their wooden frames weathered with age. It was as if time had frozen in the 1970s. The air smelled faintly of incense, but beneath it lingered something metallic, like dried blood. I lifted my camera to take a picture, but when I checked the preview, the screen was filled not with the town, but with faces. Pale, hollow-eyed villagers stared directly into the lens, though no one was there. My chest tightened. I whispered to myself, "You're imagining this." But then, I heard it, a low chanting, carried on the wind. Part 3. The First Night. As the sun sank, I found shelter in what looked like the town's old school. Dust coated the desks, and children's drawings still hung on the cracked walls. Stick figures with blacked-out eyes. That night, the chanting grew louder. I peeked through the window, and my blood froze. Figures moved through the streets, villagers dressed in outdated clothes, their faces veiled in shadows. They carried lanterns glowing red, gathering in the square. At the center stood a massive stone well. One by one, they knelt before it, bowing, murmuring in a tongue I could not recognize. Then I saw it. Hands, gray, skeletal hands, reached out from inside the well, pulling at the villagers, caressing their faces, gripping their arms. But instead of fear, the villagers welcomed it. Some even climbed willingly inside, disappearing into the black void. I pressed myself against the wall, trembling, praying they would not look up at the school. But suddenly, the chanting stopped. The lanterns turned, their glow now directed at me. And in one voice, they whispered my name. Part 4. The Vanishing. I ran. Through narrow alleys, past crumbling houses, past shadows that bent unnaturally against the moonlight. No matter how far I went, the gate never appeared again. Gabdunri had trapped me. The villagers began appearing everywhere, in windows, in reflections, in photographs I hadn't taken. Their eyes were hollow, and their mouths stretched wide, as if screaming silently. I found an old journal in the school, hidden under a floorboard. Its pages revealed the truth. Gabdunri had not been destroyed by a landslide, it had been erased. The villagers had made a pact with something in the well, a being older than the mountains themselves. In exchange for eternal preservation, they had offered their souls. But the deal was cursed. The town now existed outside of time, feeding on those who entered. Every few decades, outsiders would be lured in like me, so the town would not fade into nothingness. The last entry read, "To see Gabdunri is to belong to it." Part 5. The Final Revelation. On my third night, I tried to leave again, but the forest bent back upon itself. No matter how far I walked, I always returned to the well. The villagers were waiting. One of them stepped forward. A woman, her face eerily familiar. My grandmother, except she had died years ago. She smiled, her teeth unnaturally sharp. You answered our call, Sujin. You are the last witness. Now, you must stay. The hands from the well reached for me, cold and slimy, wrapping around my legs. I screamed, fighting, but the villagers only chanted louder. I tried to take a photo. If I could capture proof, maybe I could escape. But when the flash went off, the image burned into my camera was not of the town, not of the villagers. It was me, standing among them. The final thing I remember before the darkness swallowed me was the sound of my own voice joining their chant. Epilogue. The next morning, hikers reported hearing distant chanting in the mountains of Kangwon province. When the authorities searched, there was no sign of Gabdunri. But in the woods, they found a camera that I don't know how many days I've been trapped here. Time feels different in Gabdunri. The sun rises and sets, but never at the same rhythm. Sometimes, night stretches on endlessly, and other times, daylight lasts only minutes before darkness swallows it again. The villagers, they don't sleep. They wander silently through the streets, watching, waiting. I can feel their eyes on me even when I hide.